So, as we launch our first shared services public sector event at Deloitte, I have invited to speak to you Guy Mercier, who is GBS Lead for Solvay Business Services, as well as Chief of Operations across 4 of their end-to-end processes. Guy, thank you for joining me today. Now, what I'd like to do is talk about some of the themes that we can expect to see at the upcoming conference. And I think the first topic for me is that of the customer. Having chaired our global conference for a number of years, one of the things that has emerged is that we've swung back to really focusing on the importance of customer within a shared services and GBS environment. Is that also your experience?
Yes, when we speak about a customer, we speak about user, because we use a lot this concept of customer in our shared service industry, but in fact we have only one customer, which is the external one. Internally, we have user we have to take care of. So first, we will talk about this customer concept, which is for me the user concept, and I can share that with this organization. The second things we share is the fundamental of the business. Why are we in shared service? Them and us. Is for 4 things. It's economy of scale, synergy of expertise, compliance, and leveraging technology. So guess what today, Emma? I'm very pleased to talk to you about all those concepts and focusing on customer. So why customer? It's because for a long time the shared service industry suffered of the syndrome of cost cutting. You know, the very origin of that, we were born in finance. And in finance we know that the concept of customer, it's sometimes difficult to find. In finance, you look at your cost, you look at your profitability, and you look at leveraging your assets. Here we are, many years ago, people are rushing in shared service industry to offshore, to labor arbitrage, and to push the automation to the extreme. And then one point, knock, knock, knock at the door, hey guys, what about me in this story? Me, I am the user, I am the customer, I am the reason why you are in the business. Because like the GBS means, global business service, without customer, you don't have business.
So why do you think that we lost that focus on the customer, and what do you think is driving shared services organisations to reevaluate that? Is it, you know, and do you think we're better equipped now with all of the technology to be able to respond to that customer?
The reason why it's a good question, because I was asking myself this question recently, because within Solvay, I pushed the shared service to the limit of performance. Why? Because we were all driven by benchmark. You know, the famous benchmark of the industry, the KPIs, the SLA. And I was running for that. And that was a great race. You can focus on your process, your people, your organization. And you are very selfish when you do that. And at what point, our CEO, Jean-Pierre Clamadieu, invited us and said, wait a minute, guys. We are a GBU-centric group. That means we are all supposed to work for the business in order for those business to grow and to generate profit. You are only there to serve them and not to force them to work following your standard. And in this industry, Emma, you know that we were talking a lot about process ownership. And I was end-to-end process, I was organizing that, making conference about that. And then suddenly, last year, a big wake-up call. Because look at the term process owner. We, the GBS industry today, we pretend to become the owner of the only one way to work in the world, which is the standard way. No, the fundamental difference is the pressure coming from the market. When you look at what's happening in the market, everywhere, every product today, we are no more on a product push. We are in a customer pull. I, as a customer, I want to be able in the market to pull what I need, when I need, and I want to be very free to use it the way I want. And that's the clash.
To some extent, that suggests a required level of customization, specialist service for different customers around the business. Isn't that against the core principles of a shared services or GBS, where you're looking to create standardization and end-to-end process that everyone follows?
There is only a contradiction if you put both as the unique strategic objective. I do believe today the key of the success would to put the customer first and to put the second objective, which is efficiency, standardization, cost, as a support of the unique objective. If you become customer-centric, you can sit with the GBU and to say, to really leverage my process, my organization, if you use a standard way to work together, can we agree that this standard way will be that way? Very simple travel expense, without approval, you travel, automatic payment. That will be very simple for me to run. And because it's simple, the cost could be that price. Now, if you want a tailor-made VIP travel expense, and I understand that you need VIP because you have special customer guests. For a VIP, I can dedicate one operator full-time to you, and that operator, on top of that, doesn't cost that much. So I will make what I call a type of a middle office. We can keep in the back office structure all the fundamental you presented. Cost, scalability, synergy, relocation, offshoring, onshoring. Let's just say that you and I, when we use our Apple, I don't have my iPhone, I was careful enough to put it back for the conference, but if I would have shown you my iPhone, we don't care where it's produced. We don't care if any back office is supporting that. We just use it right now the way we want. So on the back office, keep focusing continuous improvement, but then start to create a layer of middle office where you will put people a little bit savvy, customer-oriented, which will tailor-made the outcome. That's the fundamental rules of success, I do believe today. Don't destroy the model. Put a little bit the model, not on top of everything. I love that gesture. Not on the top, but just move it under. Like that, nobody see who's doing that. But if you look under the cover, every point of contact, you will grab the data. Collect the data, have your platform, run it, put your process here, but on the top, talk to service to your customer.
I've heard, you mentioned then sort of the point around simplicity, and I know that in the past you have sort of criticised GBS and shared services for creating complexity. I guess on that simplicity drive, if you were going to give advice to others, what would you say, and what specifically have you done at Solvay to create that simplicity?
Wow, this is a killing question. That could be a 30 minutes type of answer. Why? Because simplicity is really the next challenge for the GBS. I love one sentence, I don't know where I read it, so the author will apologize me if I will not mention his name, is that growth creates complexity, but complexity kills growth. Here we are in the GBS. Look all around. One figure you mentioned to me when you present me was 1,300 people. When I met my colleague, my peers, the first things we do, how many end-to-end process you cover? I'm covering 4 end-to-end process. Great. How many people you run? 5,000, 10,000, 20,000. We play really big muscles, and so we are very proud that to say, if we can have economy of scale of that scale, let's go for scalability. We believed big was beautiful in the GBS industry. Time out. Because that growth creates complexity. And today I realize, being myself a user of my own shared service as an employee, gee, Emma, simple question, could take 3 days. I said to my assistant, wait a minute, could you call this manager? I want to be answered within 10 minutes. So the GBS, because of the scalability, big was beautiful, we created our own complexity. Look, local, then we put a layer regional, then we put a layer global, and then we want to have the super duper big guys. We put process expert, we put process owner, and when you want to change one simple thing useful for any customer, it will take you 6 months.
So what are you doing at Solvay then to get back to that sort of simpler way of operating, or that simpler way of engaging with customers?
We are not there. We just decided to start. What was very nice is that Jean-Pierre Clamadieu himself, the CEO, realized that this syndrome of complexity was not only for the GBS. So that means a GBS by itself cannot simplify an organization of 30,000. With my 2,000 or 3,000 people total with IS, I don't want to run the battle, which is, by the way, very often the battle we have today. Me in the process, I'm suffering of you, corporate, fixing complex rule. Me in the GBU, I'm suffering of you in the GBS being complex. So it started from the top in Solvay. The CEO, Jean-Pierre Clamadieu, decided a year and a half ago to say, look, we grow by acquisition. We make a lot of serious acquisition. Cytec, special carbon fiber, huge business, 5.6 billion in the US. We disinvest business. So he played a lot to really bring Solvay as a multi-specialty chemical company. Having done that, suddenly he realized that internally he didn't do anything. We really lived like, and we are organized like we were 10 years ago. And here is the complexity. 10 years ago, we were a functional leader group where the function had all the power. That means that's the function. Mm-hmm. I will tell you business, the way to pay your invoice, the way to close the books, the way you promote your people. And now he wants to be a GBU-centric. So he said, this is a unique opportunity. Now that we finished for a year the acquisition, let's focus internally and change the culture. So he invited me to participate to a group of 4 people, one head of GBU, myself as a GBS, an HR lady very top in the organization to transform the culture, and the number 2 in finance. And altogether, he said, it's not a question of cost. This is a unique time to change the way of working. We are too complex internally. And so we make a diagnosis, root cause analysis. Where is this complexity? What are we talking about? And the way we did it, we took domain, which means finance, HR, but as a domain. We took the corporate people, we took the GBS people, and we took the GBU people working in HR. And that we drill into the organization in each business. And 220 people for 6 months, they meet together to say, is it working well? Guess what, Emma? Not a surprise. Mm. Oh no, the way you pay my invoice is painful, the way you know all of that. I'm managing 6,900 complaints, average time to answer 4.6 days, and I'm very proud of 4.6 days. But shame on me to have 9,600 complaints, okay? So we made root cause analysis, and that diagnosis was done in co-construction. The corporate, the GBU, and the GBS, which allow people not to say, oh, it's because of you. No, it's because of you. Or, no, we put at the middle the complexity of a Solvay group, which grew by layers, and today we are launching a project called Oxygen, which is a third cultural change, a third organization redesign, using the concept of the Google village, the tribe. There are many new things in the market popping up. Look at that, it's very interesting. And a third, leveraging technology. Because today people talk about digital. Guys, if you don't change your attitude, digital is a question of behavior. It's not a question of tool.
I wanted to ask you about technology, actually. If you look at our annual survey around the growth of robotics, it suggests that around 53% of the respondents, which was kind of globally from a shared services perspective, are now looking at implementing robotics. And so also there's a suggestion that that will grow to 72% over the next couple of years. Do you think, though, that we have got distracted by technology and led down a route that has, again, meant that we've forgotten the customer a little bit?
It's absolutely not a distraction. For me, it's really part of the 4th industrial revolution. And what we see today, it's in fact the penetration of our private life into our professional life. When you look at your private life, I was astonished. I was in Singapore last week, and in the street, most of the people, they are not only walking, looking at their iPhone or Samsung or cell phone. It's normal. But they have 2. I say, Jesus, I'm just barely using one time to time. I try to switch off to be free. And here are those guys. This life, which is permanently on, permanently searching, instant information, triggering quick reaction, this life of pushing technology is coming in our professional life. That means if you look at RPA, I don't even know why we talk about and why we are not doing it, everybody. You know, I'm a financial guy, but at the origin, I'm an MBA specialized in chemistry, mathematics, and physics. So I joined Solvay because I love Solvay as a chemical company. So when you look at the plant, any manufacturing, 20 years ago, we put robot in any plant. We call that APC, which is automatic process control. A control room, 6 smart guys, computer, everything controlled in the plant. Yeah, and you will tell me that for shared service, just to make debit credit, a robot cannot do it? No, we are just late.
And I think
we are very late.
I think so. I think that surprises me as well, that what we haven't seen from a robotics point of view is that kind of scaling happening at the speed that we thought it would. Why is that?
So I'm also studying that because in Solvay we launched robotic in 2016 it went very well, very fast on POC, proof of concept. And we decided to make 3 different types of POC in order to understand what's in the box. Because for me, RPA, it's like a Lego box. You know, here is the tool, here is the software, here is the algorithm, a little bit of the user application interface, very easy to use, very even fun to do that. I love algorithm, by the way. So if you look at what's inside those software, it's very basic algorithm. So this is absolutely not a technological revolution. It's a revolution from a behavior and a penetration perspective. So come back to Solvay. We made 3 POCs, one in P2P to analyze what's robotizable inside the process. So it was just analyze the process, what a robot can do with the process. R2R was to select one company which already developed robot for debit credit, and we asked them, come with those robots, and let's see how quickly you can plug your algorithm in our accounting system. And the third one was the smartest one for me, was the chatbot on hire to retire, answer the question on the phone by a robot. I was very excited by that because I do believe that's where is the future, is when you will put artificial intelligence on the robot. I know I will anticipate your second question, which is, and then what? What did you learn with that? Very quickly. P2P, don't make the mistake to ask the robot to do what you are doing today. It was a failure because we have 90% exception on a messy process which is not supposed to be used by a robot. Failure, great. Go back to school, go upstream, and change totally your process design on P2P in order to use the robot and to let the exception being managed by people or by your GBU guys. They will know how complex they are. Second robot, R2R, we discover very positively that in fact when you look at robot, it's nothing else than the A, automation. And the automation, it's already done in SAP. Go in your ERP, don't use tons of robots to play Toys R Us. Go whenever you can inside your ERP and automate that. Those robots from this company, when they tried to plug, already done. No business case. The cockpit, the automatic closing in SAP, covered 10 times more than any robot because it's done in the core system. So failure. For there, we will use robot on specific part of the accounting intercompany.
But just one question on that, Guy. You're not uncommon in terms of the proof of concepts, and that seems to be where a lot of organisations are, and to some extent seem to be getting stuck in terms of scaling that. Again, sort of going back to that point, why do you think as a shared services industry there hasn't been more scaling up of those robotics? Why we're still struggling with automation to some extent?
I know why, because I'm struggling. So I learned very painfully that experience. I was very excited by those 3 pilots, and I'm sure we will talk about chatbot later on. So let's talk about the lesson learned later on that. Here we are, 2016. I'm the personal sponsor as a chief of operation. Very small budget, 50,000. Learn, fail fast, gorgeous. We went, and trust me, it was almost a 6 weeks project. Not 6 weeks, but it was 8-10 weeks. 6 POC total, because we did other. And today, end of 17, we have only 21 robots in production. And here we are, your excellent question, why do we have this problem of scalability? And that's where I believe my diagnosis, which is just personal, I do believe when we created shared services, one element was very important as a rule. It's the concept of brownfield and greenfield. You remember that? Yeah. You know, the green field was don't go very far away in a very green field. You don't know the people, you don't know anything, and you have to create a shared services from scratch. I chose the brownfield, I chose Lisbon because we had an industrial platform in Lisbon. We knew Portugal for 75 years, and here I am in the brownfield. Why did I explain that to you? It's because that concept of greenfield and brownfield, when you look at robotic, I do believe it's totally the opposite. Brownfield is not the right place to develop your robot. Because in the brownfield, you have many constraints, which is first of all, as soon as you want to scale up, you don't have enough resource available because you have limited headcount. And if you want more resource, you have to apply for a project. You need approval, you need budget. And here you are. You launch in a very active and enthusiastic POC procedure, and boom, you are back in the traditional steering committee, IS, partnering, budget, 6 months after, you have even people raising the hand and say, what about governance? Who's the boss of that? Guys, there is no boss. This is startup. This is a new way to work. You need to start from the ground. It's innovation bottom up. This RPA is a revolution on the behavior. It's not the revolution on the tool. So how to scale up? I'm struggling, and I'm even asking question if it's not time for me to recreate another shared service outside with a new team, only for robots, by robots with robots, and that they will be just the partner, and I will have to see how to share the profit. Maybe I will do a shared service of the shared service inside Solvay or in partnership.
Okay. I do want to come back to that point around how you become digital, you know, and that sort of generally that's a lot more about leadership and culture and behaviour. But just before that, you touched on chatbots,
yeah.
And I know that a number of organisations that we're working with in the public sector are looking at chatbots. Tell us a bit about your experience of that. Do you think there is a real opportunity for shared services with chatbots?
It's more than an opportunity. It will become the way to work. So I do believe that the chatbot, it's no more the question, why is it time or what? No. If you do not experiment chatbot, you are just late. You know, the train left the station. It's up to you, jump in the wagon or not. And it was very funny. If you remember Vienna, I was very honest in the chatbot. On the 3 POCs, on this chatbot, it was the most excited for me because I do believe this is the avenue of the future by having a robot capable to answer within fraction of second, search in 20,000 answer already available based on couple of search engine which exist today. Look at Google. Nobody is waiting seconds before to ask anything in the world. And you will tell me for an HR question that you cannot find the same as Google? No. So I was very excited with the artificial intelligence. Then here's come the reality. When you hit the road like that, which means what? First of all, don't look for a business case. It's negative business case. Instead of making -2 FTE, I was expecting to free up people in my back office. I had to add 2 FTE because every end of a day, those two people look at the question not answered by the robot. And they look at why and they complete. So first, no business case. Second, very poor on language. Except your civilized language, I try to practice the best I can. Try to find a robot in French, in Spanish, it will take time. So here you are stuck. The only answer you can deliver is in English. Try to answer a question of a worker in France in a plant in English. Good luck. Third, the answer you can deliver are so basic that you will even ask yourself, why a chatbot? Because let me use an example to you. I lived recently. A guy was sick for 6 months. He was a sick leave. And we made a test, he came back, and he was asking how many training days he still granted till the end of the year because of his sick leave. And then the robot is stuck. The robot can tell you how many training days you have. The robot can tell you how many sick leave you can have, or how many vacation you can get. But the robot, it's impossible for him to say that based on that sick leave, you have only that training granted and you can pay with your vacation time to be on training. No robot in the world can do that. So you see, it's the first level of answering and not the second level. But why I'm still so enthusiastic on that? Because that's the only way in the future that people will use their cell phone, voice recognition, work 24/7, and we will take care of them on the back. So invest into that. We will invest. We will fix governance. We will choose the right company to work with. And today, it's very laborious to build up on knowledge base. What I believe, we will reach an asymptote. At a certain point, all the effort to build on knowledge will pay, except if the software will change. How you transfer your knowledge base from one software to another. That will be the challenge.
Just on the chatbot, how long did it take then for you to get to the point where you are today?
I don't want to count, because we started with the 6 weeks in 2016, and it took us a year and a half. But here we are. It's the only POC. I'm hanging there, because it will be huge. It will be huge. Huge, because when you see the speed, in fact, one of the highest value I can see, it's not this FTE business case. Everybody look at robotic for the business case. Don't do that. Don't do that. I'm struggling myself. Those consulting firms, they promise one robot equal on paper 8 or 9 FTE. You know the figure. Yeah. When you practice, people say, no, it's 1 for 5. Yeah. I have 1 for 2, 1 for 3. And here in chatbot, I have 1 for +2. So don't go there. Robotic, that will be a consequence. But I'm telling to my guys in the back office, don't be frightened with robotic. It's just a new way to work. It's just the same as when the PC arrived on the market. I'm a man of the old mainframe. IBM, I don't want to mention which type of IBM because you will know my age. But it was the time of mainframe, huge database. And at that time, IBM said, PC, never. This is a toy. And then you had Apple coming, making a PC nice looking, etc. Robotic is the same concept. Robotic, no, this is user application interface, is a toy. You will see. They will revolutionize the user application interface, and they will constrain your core ERP to work with them. So the robotic, for me, the fundamental reason is speed, because they can do jobs. And when you look at the way they make advertisement on robotic, it's hilarious, because they make the screenshot coming and look, this is what the robot is doing. I say, guys, I hope that your robot is working faster than just showing me the screen. And they show you an email, an Excel spreadsheet. Say, time out. I hope a robot to be in a microsecond. Okay? So speed first. Second, as soon as your algorithm is well done, never a mistake.
Yeah.
And the volume. I did it recently. We made an experience. We got Freshdesk tickets, single ticketing tool for our contact center. And I wanted to know a couple of patterns of my customer. Why are they calling? Why so many complain? What are the reasons, etc. And I tried to ask for analysis. It took 6 months, I got nothing. Then I was tired. I hired 2 students, almost PhD in math. And I said to those guys, here is $1.5 million tickets. I don't know what I search, work on it. And they started to develop algorithm, if, then, etc. And they use different type of mathematical rules, far beyond the regression, the classical statistical analysis. And after 3 months, I got a beautiful analysis of everything happening in $1.5 million ticket in 3 months. But those 2 students, they just use every technology available. I said, here is my cost center. You spend, you know how much they spend? $6,000, you know? So that's the future. So robotic, it's speed, compliance control, quality, and volumes. And then you will have the natural consequence of freeing up your FTE. Don't reduce the FTE. Use those FTE freeing up to put the human where they deserve to be. Not the robot and the human, no. You put the human on the robot to feed the robot. You know the famous, you will see that on my slides, the hand of the robot, very classic, and the human hand. That's where the human is putting in, gathering all the data needed for the robot. It's the human who will make the success of the robot. And robot is a reality.
We've talked about the customer, we've talked about value and simplicity, we've touched on technology, you've touched a little bit there on analytics, but for our public sector clients who are perhaps to some extent right at the beginning of that journey to becoming a digital business services or starting to think about digital business services, based on your experience, what are the 3 or 4 key considerations that they should have as they start to move in that direction?
I will have 2 things to answer. I will give you the final 3 pieces of advice if you allow me, and it will be for free. But first, because I was thinking, I was very honored and pleased that you invite me to talk to this public sector, as I said in the introduction. And I say, what makes the difference between public sector and business sector, private sector? I do believe that the public sector, they need to be in advance of the business sector. Because we believe that being a citizen make me a second-class customer. Not at all. The citizen today is a private man, private lady in front of a huge need in our day-to-day life. And look the way we answer the need, it's like that. I do believe that the public sector, they have to think about how to structure their data, and they have to put digital at the heart of the service first. So any service, any public service, they have to be done through digital, no more through human. Even far advanced, they have to be in advance of any bank. Look at what's happening in the banking sector. I still have an account manager, but he's a trader. I have him not on the phone. We chat at the time I put my transaction. That's the public sector. I'm living in Portugal, and even if it sounds a little bit awkward to use in the UK example of Portugal, very south country, and I will not raise any other opinion because I love Portugal, in IS, because they were a little bit late many years ago, they really jump in advance. And so here is a country where they create Loggia de Cidadão, which means it's a physical and a virtual place where me as a citizen, I can find everything. I can find my tax, my medical coverage, social security, pension, everything. One finger click and I have to access. So my message for the first one for the government and the public sector, use digital to leverage the speed of your service and to change the behavior internally. And I know it will not be easy because their challenge will be talent management. They need new talent, but they can train people. My 3 pieces of advice for the GBS now. As a practitioner, if the public sector would allow me, I'm keeping me 3 rules. What are my 3 focus on everything I'm doing every day? The first things, I do not forget in which industry I am, which means economy of scale, synergy of expertise, compliance, no mistake, and leveraging technology. So my first piece of message, continue to improve your efficiency. Look at your process. I didn't say kill the process. I said put the process under, but for those processes, you have to work to be the best in class. So process efficiency is at the heart of our day-to-day job, but it's not a strategic objective. It's a condition. And for that, measure. Because the famous sentence, you can only improve what you can measure. Customer satisfaction, measure. Performance, measure. But look at the way you measure. First piece of advice, continuous improvement. Second piece of advice is leverage technology. Because if you believe that, I'm finally GBS, I'm the owner of 4 end-to-end process, I'm the king of the world, this is only one way to pay an invoice, this is, no. You are just at a step of transformation. And this transformation today is just speeding up because the impact, the compounded effect of innovation, it's innovation on innovation on innovation. And yes, I feel that. So the second point for the public sector, you have massive capability. Stop to make it fragmented. Concentrate your power on data. That means leverage digital as a public sector. And the third one, the only way I can make a difference today, and that will be my priority in Solvay, it's talent management. Because everybody can buy technology, everybody can learn how to use technology, but you will need smart people at the right place, and that's when you will see the value of all those technology. Digital. Digital is a behavior, but digital is a human driver. If you use digital as a tool, fancy tool, no.
Guy,
okay?
Thank you very much for your time today. I appreciate you coming to talk to us, and we will look forward to continuing those discussions at our conference in July. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you very much. Thank you.